Namaskar. Hello and welcome to 𝗏𝗏𝗀𝗏 channel. I'm your host Sree. After a long hiatus, Rajiv Malhotra ji is back and we have a very important topic to discuss. Let's welcome Rajiv ji. Rajiv ji, Namaskar, Ram Ram. How are you, sir?
Namaskar. Always a pleasure to be with you.
Thank you so much, sir. Sir, today you've hit a nail on the head. You've put out a couple of tweets and these are just on the money, sir. Let's take a look at the first tweet about see, this is right on. See, Washington politics is highly polarized into two fiercely competitive camps. Woke left dominated by Muslims, MAGA right dominated by fundamentalist Christians. You saw the 𝗟𝗏𝗙𝗏𝗏 viewers. You understand where Rajiv ji is coming from. Spot on. Both have separate and powerful think tanks. Muslims have infiltrated both camps using tenacity, money, and their pipeline of well-trained youth qualified specifically for these jobs. There are virtually no Indians in B, which is the MAGA right, and few in A, but mostly self-serving. India has not even understood how the game is played in DC, much less being able to become an insider. Pakistan is in every institution I visit and with well-spoken and ideologically informed individuals. Hence, they have advanced knowledge and access. We react after the fact. I haven't seen a better tweet capturing what is happening in terms of what lobbying is all about in the United States. Rajiv ji, see, I'll tell you one thing, sir. Pakistan has always been a vassal state of US. You can agree with me or disagree with me. Right from 1950s, they got into Seato, then Cento, then Santo, then Bunto. You name it. All these things are what? Money coming from US in the name of aid, and then they buy arms and the money goes right back to the US. So somewhere this ecosystem has built up over a period of time where they have been able to, like it or not, they've been able to figure out how to do all these things well. India, on the other hand, as a policy, Rajiv ji, Indian government has a policy not to lobby. I won't say it in so many words, but I've got that impression talking to many people in the government. Be that as it may, I want to ask you a question that goes back to Mahabharata.
So you know, I may not agree with all the premises, but go ahead. I may have my own views on these premises.
Oh, absolutely. I want intellectuals are talking, sir. We will have differences, and we need to understand where things are coming from. Sir, I want to give one riposte back to looking at the history. If in Mahabharata, Krishna hadn't told Yudhishthir to say Aswathama Hatha iti Kunjara, where at the time he says iti Kunjara, this man blows the conch, history would have been different. I'm saying this for a reason, sir. I yield the floor to you.
Okay, so I'll start from square one. So any complicated country has its own ecosystem. It's not just one camp or the other camp. It has a complex, many layers, and you need to understand if you want to engage with it. So first, Indians need to figure out, do they want to engage America or not? Because even giving them advice, they keep coming back and attacking me saying, who are you? We don't want the USA, de-dollarization, US is gone, multipolarism, a future of India. We got 1.4 billion, and we got all these tech people, they're great, and we'll hug China or Russia. So either you say US is unimportant, in which case don't complain. Or since all the things that Trump is doing against India, which I'm not happy with, if those are going to bother you, then you must take United States seriously and figure out what it takes to get in the door, what it takes to gamify Washington, D.C., the way Pakistan has gamified Washington, D.C. And that's the job of think tanks in India. That's the job which they have failed to do. That's the job of diplomats, and they failed to do. That's the job of friends of BJP, RSS people here. They failed to do that. That's the job of the elite in Silicon Valley and other places who get lots of time from the Indian government. They patronize them. They give them awards. They give them rewards, and they have failed. So either you say, we don't care a shit about the United States, we don't care a damn about them, to hell with them. You say that, like some people are saying, but then don't complain. Okay. Or if you do want a certain outcome, which I think India does want, then you have to play game and figure out how to play the game and win, how to play the game and who to play the game with. Who are the insiders that you need to work with? So that's the basic premise. Now, as far as the game in Washington is concerned, I just want to say, having lived in the United States 55 years and really understand this country, its history, its politics, its philosophy, its religion, all of that, I am aghast at the low level of understanding on the part of Indians about how the United States functions. It's all symptomatic. It's all optics. I got this selfie. I got this hug. I got this tweet from them. They wish me I'm great here and there. None of that really matters. The United States is more serious than just that. It's not about pageantry. It's not a tamasha. You have to understand and take the United States more seriously, which means you have to invest in understanding it, study its institutions, study the think tanks and the people who advise the president, the people who advise the Congress, and so on. And I don't see that happening. So in 2025, I was invited to be one of the VVIPs in the inauguration of Trump. And I went there and I got to know a lot of people, and I got to know people who then later became in the administration. So I got into in connection with some think tanks. I attended a lot of their fundraisers. I have given almost $100,000 personal money. This is not foundation because this is political lobbying. I have to do it personally. I've given money on 3 or 4 occasions to get a seat at the table and go there and listen, and then be able to ask a question or have a side meeting, which I'm always invited to. So I have achieved some level of 𝗟𝗡𝗞𝗦 about the new administration. And I don't find any Hindus there. I don't find very many Indians there. I certainly don't find any people from the Indian government there. I don't know which lobby firm they have. I don't find them there. So this means that there is a lot of learning curve that the people in India need to have. And what I have discovered is not something that people in India want to listen to. I keep getting calls from all kind of networks here, there. They want to interview me, but usually the host of the show already has his mind made up. He already has his one mind made up, and he just wants to substantiate his point of view, and he's asking leading questions that I should respond in a way that actually I'm boosting his point of view. And if I disagree, they don't want you. So this closed echo chamber is a very serious thing that has happened in India. It's all echoing each other. So the echo chamber basically says, dollar is gone, the BRICS is up there, multipolarism is in, we are doing very well, we don't need United States, they need us more than we need them. If we withdraw all our H1B visa, their system will crash, their whole country will come to the knees, blah, 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 all of that. We are into the Quad and they need us more than we need them in the Quad, and on and on and on. Now, much of that is true. Much of that is true, but it's not entirely true. Okay. And also it is true that what Trump has done is not justifiable either on moral grounds or on the facts, either factually. And India hasn't built its case properly. It is true. I agree with the Indian position on that. I certainly agree with that. But I think that we have to learn how to play the game, because Trump can be gamified. Trump can be gamified. Like any politician, he can be gamified. He's not going to be gamified if you go through Congress. And this is what 𝗟𝗏 𝗏𝗏 did wrong. He went and met some Democrat congressmen and senators. Many of them I know of. And they are they are kind of upset because they're out of power. They have a bad attitude. And so 𝗟𝗏 𝗏𝗏 is not an authority on analyzing and examining what's going on in the United States vis-a-vis India. This much I can tell you. I have been to right-wing Republican think tanks. One of them has supplied 88 employees into the White House in 2025. 88 of their workers, their senior people, thinkers, and so on in various departments, have become either cabinet members or below the cabinet members. They are working in the White House. This is a very large endorsement of this particular think tank's ideology. I won't name them. And they have put out policy after policy after policy. So when I went there, they said, well, why are you the first Indian who's come here? Nobody has come here. So it is true that Indians have not gone there to lobby, but it's not the wrong kind of lobbying that you need to do with some altu-faltu, Democrat or even Republican senators or congressmen. They don't have that much power. The White House is its own think tank. The White House decides what the policies are, and they tell the head of the Congress and the head of the Senate, so Mike Johnson, whom I also met, who is a great guy, he called me for a private meeting. We spent a lot of time chatting with each other on these matters. And he also felt that India there's nobody saying all these things for India. So where is the ambassador? Where are the people who are celebrated in India as sort of our people in America? Where are they? Why hasn't the government in India called up its BJP people, its RSS people, all the people that got Padma awards, all the people they've given appointments here and there, they become advisor to this, advisor to that in India? Where are those? Why don't you make a list and say, okay, we call him out? Why aren't you doing anything? I have not been in any of these categories. I have a nobody. I speak for myself. I put out my own money. I represent nobody but my own self. And I have not been given any backing, any status, any positioning, not that I'm seeking, but I don't have any authority to go and talk in a certain way. So I speak for myself. No official adhikara. I have the adhikara as an intellectual who's thinking, and so I'm invited because they feel that I got a point of view I should pay attention to. I wish, when I was in Delhi 2 months ago, I wish I could have had an appointment like I wanted, but nobody bothered. I tried, because I could have given them some strategic advice on which would affect H1B, which would also affect the trade deal. But I am not going to just blurt it out, because, you know, India could have turned this as instead of a liability, turned it into an asset and done a trade deal, investing tens of billions of dollars in labor, in tens of billions of dollars in R&D, like Japan is investing, not necessarily wiring money to invest, but investing by giving technology, by giving engineering, by giving services, by giving equipment. India could have done that, something like that. The 1.5 trillion which Saudi Arabia and the Arabs are giving is not cash they're wiring. They're going to give energy, oil and gas, to power data centers in the Middle East desert. So the US is going to supply the NVIDIA chips and the software and operate those centers, and the Arabs are going to provide the petroleum and the energy because the energy requires a huge amount of energy is required, more energy cost than the cost of the chips. That's how big the energy demand is over a period of time. The chips cost up front one time, and the energy is recurring. So the Saudis very clever. They said, we will invest in the form of what we have, which is energy, and we'll get equity. India could have done something creative like that, but nobody wanted to listen to these ideas. People were too full of, hey, you know, what do you know? We have it all figured out. Jaishankar has tweeted, we'll hit back. Even today, they think it's a social media fight. People in India thinking Trump ne ye bola, hum jawab dein, as if the fight in the social media will win the match. I mean, it's not a fight over commentator versus commentator. That doesn't change the outcome on the field. Okay, so in the actual Kurukshetra, we need people who understand the Kurukshetra first, and who are able to navigate that Kurukshetra. So this is my preamble. Now, what we need to have done, what we still can do, is there need to be financial investment in the lobbying. I'm not talking, this does not take tens of millions or billions. This does take tens of thousands and hundreds of thousands of dollars. And there are people who have that kind of money and in India, and they do come and spend that kind of money in Washington, but they spend it for selfish reasons. They spend it to get a selfie, to self-promote, to have bragging rights, but they're not representing a well thought out position that the other side would like to learn and like to listen to. So I have joined, and I won't mention details, I have joined the advisory boards of a couple of these think tank organizations. I have. And they have weekly calls, they have monthly calls, they want to listen to their advisors, and I'm part of that. And I don't find other people like me from our community representing. Maybe there's just one more who's like me. So this is a vacuum. Pakistanis I find all over. Muslims I find all over. You know, Muslims were in the doghouse with Trump. He was really saying all kind of things against them in the previous term. But they understood the moment he's about to win that, you know, supporting Harris will become a liability. So while some of their people were supporting, from the woke side, were supporting Harris very fiercely, they quietly built a second group of people to support the MAGA, to get inside the MAGA. And you know, they were covered on both sides. Whoever had won, they had people inside. Whoever had won, they had people inside. And so in our case, it was not that tenacity wasn't there. Our ambassador was caught with his pants down because he never expected Trump to win. And he's gone on the record telling one or two people I know that, we were misguided by some NRI who told them Harris will win. What a joke. Why would you count on his study? You have to do your own. So the government of India, MEA, needs more think tank capacity to understand America. And it's not because America is a good country, bad country. It doesn't matter because it's America. You need to do the same with Russia, with China, with Saudi Arabia, with France. You need to have real, serious, your own independent analysis of major countries in the world. Whether you like them or whether you don't like them, you have to understand them so you can deal with them. So our knowledge of the United States is very shallow. And therefore, we are reacting after the fact. Why is it that every single thing that Trump has done, this think tank was able to tell me, here is a policy statement we published a while ago. He's just implementing it. This is a policy statement. It's not that Trump himself dreamt it up. He's not that smart. He relies on people who he trusts, people in the MAGA camp, and there are some people who do that. So why is it that there are Islamic, Muslim people? I'm not against Islam, but I'm just pointing out a fact. There are Muslims working in these organizations. Now, how did these Muslims get there? It's not something overnight. You don't make a phone call and say, okay, I'm going to put my people there. You have to develop a whole pipeline of people, train them, like you develop people to be knowledgeable. You figure out what kind of people are being hired, what kind of competence they need, what kind of degrees they need. We are putting our people in IT and in medicine and those kind of professions. The Muslims are putting their people up to become mayors, local city mayors. In the UK, see what's happening. It's happening in the United States also. To work into government think tanks, to work into law enforcement, to work into judiciary. So they're putting their people in certain places which are the institutions of power. The institutions of power are being taken over in a certain way. Yeah, taken over. Infiltration is one way to say it, but let's just say they are entering those institutions of power as proper bona fide, American citizens are allowed to. But they bring a certain ideology with them. Okay, so we react after a policy has been implemented. What a shame. They are involved in formulating the policy. Difference. Are you an insider or are you going to fight as an outsider, shouting, screaming, and yelling at them? What are you going to do? I mean, it's a shame that we have not positioned people to become insiders. And this requires strategic thinking. This requires understanding the game, how to gamify this game. So there need to be such people in the left wing think tanks. There need to be such people in the right wing think tanks, because this is an ongoing game that, like any country, America goes back and forth. So I feel that there's too much importance Indians give to optics. Too much importance. The Indian government gives optics, and the Indian people have a habit of showing off. I have this selfie. I got this picture. This one, that one. They want titles. They want affiliations. And the substance is lost, because even the public is very impressed by optics, and the media people consider such people to become experts, and so they start interviewing them. So that's a serious problem. Social media victory is not the victory you want. I mean, Jaishankar made about 25 times he posted that there was no intervention of Trump in the India-Pakistan thing. He should not get this Nobel Prize business and all. He could have said it once and just kept quiet. I mean, you made a stand and your position is on the record. You don't have to keep telling every 2-3 days that, hey, man, you're a liar. You don't have to say that. So you expect a diplomat would know these things, So then there is this, still I feel that as even right now, India has not analyzed what's the worst case scenario with respect to USA, because more things can happen. And India has not analyzed just how friendly is China, and are we trapped with no friend besides Russia? And has Pakistan diplomacy outsmarted us? They got China on their side, now US in many ways. Saudi Arabia has declared this military treaty, and others are likely to follow. Okay, maybe Turkey, maybe this Islamic thing, and they being the nuclear power will have a lot of importance. Certainly in UK, with the Labour government and their people being in such important positions like Home Secretary and so on. So other than Russia and Israel, they've taken over the international relations within the last 1.5 years, 1 year. Last year they were in the doghouse. Nobody wanted to talk about it. So why has it happened? I mean, it's not like I'm not criticizing India. People are so touchy. Aap pro ho ke anti ho, aap Rahul Gandhi ke ho. I hate Rahul Gandhi and all those bunch of useless people. So this has nothing to do with supporting any of those guys. I just love Bharat, and it doesn't matter to me who's in power, who's not in power. I'm trying to look for the best interests. Okay, so this is not a criticism of Modi. Modi is my favorite prime minister that India ever had. Okay, I'm saying that the whole establishment around him, the whole lot of advisors and ministers and I don't know, bureaucrats or whatever. And then there's the media, and then there's this think tanks. And I feel that there's an echo chamber in all this, and they have not done their work. They have not, and the people in the United States that are considered, hey, you know, these are the big shots we have there, whether it's Silicon Valley or whether it's other organizations that India has funded, you know, it's like they have let us down. So it's a time for reflection. It's a sobering thought. I'm not criticizing. I'm just warning. I'm just giving you information and saying, please pay attention. It could get worse. Thank you for giving me this opportunity.
Thank you so much, Rajiv ji. You mentioned one very important line about how they got influenced by some NRA saying that Kamala Harris is coming back. I would urge all of you to ask this question. Viewers, I give this book, it is free, sir. I give this book to almost anybody from the government that I meet. This was written 4 years ago. I'd like to ask all those of you who have got my book, how many of you have read the book? You know why I'm asking this? This shows how the 2020 election was stolen in a fictional story. Because I know if I wrote it as a factual story, I would be, you know, in jail. I don't have anybody to even pay my bail. So I fictionalized it and said, this is what happened. But if you just go through the first few pages, it becomes very obvious what it is. Unless you understand how these things happen, and this is just a book, you don't need to go fly out to United States to meet with people. I'm just asking this question because, Rajiv ji, I see a lot of useless chatter on chat box here saying, you know, this. Look, Rajiv ji and I are here to tell you what is the situation on the ground here. If you don't know, please understand that this is a learning experience. Don't give us this emotional crap. It doesn't help. And he is spot on when he says, just because you are saying something on social media.
Sree, ask me more questions. Ask me, because I have a lot to say. So you ask me questions. Tell me.
Yes.
So for instance, I made a loaded statement so that things could get worse. So maybe you want to ask me in what way?
Sir, I have already predicted some of these things, but please go ahead, sir. How could things get worse?
It's your forum and you speak your forum, you predicted, all that's great. But if you want my views, then I should give my views, even though you
go ahead, sir. Go ahead.
So if the United States wanted to turn twist more, it could turn India into like an Iran in terms of sanctions. It could. And India's foreign reserve is in dollars mostly. And dollar reserve can be frozen. That you should know that. You don't like the dollar, fine, then get out of it. What will you buy? You will buy euros. It could happen there. You could buy Chinese currency. You don't want to do that. So where will you go? So these are not very easy to answer questions, these sort of things. United States could put a tariff on outsourcing. They could say that import of software services, whether it is done, whether the person is sitting in the United States, which is H1B issue. I'll come and discuss that. I think H1B issue is not all that bad, by the way. Or whether it is software being done from India, you can say this is being imported. Okay, the software is being imported, whether it is being done here in the US or whether it's being done in Bangalore or Hyderabad or wherever, or any kind of service, and we're going to put a tariff on that. So what will happen to the Indian software industry? How will it compete with other suppliers? So there's many things they could do like that. When they had a fight with 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏, the Chinese company, they banned the use of Android and any American operating system. This is banned. That's a technology ban. You can't do that. So 𝗏𝗏𝗏 had to, the Chinese company, so tribute to them. Within a few months, they created their own operating system, and now they don't use any Android. They just gone into their own operating system world. How ready is India to do that? If there were you can't use you can't use these American technologies, you put a ban on you. Or if not on the whole country, on particular companies, particular Indian companies that are involved in the port at Iran. Those companies, those Indian companies that are trading with Iran in any capacity, and a lot of companies are involved. US could easily say, we want to, after September 27, they've given that deadline. US has said they have a right to put sanctions on any company that is doing such deals. And the sanction could include not just freezing assets, but it also could include not allowing them to use American technology. And so how prepared is India for that? Okay. So this business of, I don't think that optics says anything. Whom Trump called to wish and what lunch he had with whom has nothing to do with the actions being taken. So do not use those as barometers, as indicators of where it's likely to go. The only reliable source of influence on Trump are think tanks that are MAGA think tanks. These are staffed with MAGA people. They have worked very hard to get into power. They're very proud. They feel they have brought Trump into power, and now Trump is going to deliver. And when you walk down the halls of these companies and when you sit in a auditorium, they're intelligent people. They're not stupid, motorcycle, biker, boom, boom. They're not like white supremacists, those kind of people. They're very well educated. They know what they're talking about, and they have very serious and very extreme policies. They have very serious and extreme policies, and they want to put them through. And their view is that it's only been like 8.5, 9 months, and they have another 3.5 years to go. So India needs to up its game. India needs to up its game in trying to understand. If there's one takeaway from this conversation that I am having, or this presentation I'm giving, it is that take Washington right-wing MAGA think tanks seriously. Figure out how to become a member. Some of them you can become a member, be on their mailing list. Why not? Go and attend their events. Why not? Fund something. Have a fundraiser, put some money and you get in the door. Why not? I would say that there's too much of Indian investment in the Democratic side. I'm not anti-democratic. I'm actually registered as a Democrat. You should know that. Last election, I did not vote for either side. And I tell both of them that I did not vote for either side because I just didn't feel too convinced by either side. So I stayed out of it. Okay. But I'm registered as a Democrat. And I funded them for a long time. Now I'm funding the Republicans also. So you got to play the game. That's what it takes. I do not know why Indians with 100 times more money than I have, 1,000 times more money than I have, don't have the big-heartedness for their country to go and invest when there's a $25,000 per person ticket or $50,000. These people got the money and they're going to be able to spend. They're spending $5, $10, $20 million on some wedding or some house or some holiday somewhere, but they're not able to get into these strategic think tank events. That's a serious problem.
Rajiv ji, let's walk this thing out a few years. When India is not there, India's voice is not being heard across capitals, across the United States. It may not be your generation and my generation that will see the impact. Talk to us a little bit about what could happen with the way things are going now, and India does nothing. And Indian Americans too, we can put them together. How do you foresee the future for Indian Americans?
So I think the top very few percent, maybe 0.1% or whatever of Indians out of the 1.4 billion are in good shape as individuals. They got enough money, their family is okay, and they don't care what happens to India. They are not. They'll just use India as part of their portfolio of identities, multiple identities. They'll use this IIT as an identity when it suits them, but they're not going to do a whole lot for it. Just to give you an example, you're an IITian. I'm not an IITian, but I wrote this book called Battle for IIT UC. I wrote a book called Battle.
Sir, I'm not an IITian, sir. Okay, I'm also not an IITian. Over to you.
So neither of us. Good.
Yeah.
So I wrote a book called Battle for IITs, where I was told by people in Silicon Valley when I presented that I'm writing this book, they were very happy. Yeah, I'll buy 1,000 copies and distribute them. I'll do this, I'll do that. Talking like big. They'll get you a nice fancy dinner in somebody's house. Big. They're really big on that. A lot of pictures, selfies, promote you on social media. Very big on that. When I finished writing that book was basically saying how the social sciences brought into IITs is destroying IITs because it's turning the IITs into woke. and this whole caste issue, caste debates in IITs, quotas, it's ruining their STEM capability, which is what they should be focusing on, and bringing in a whole lot of social sciences nonsense. That was my thesis. It's only 100 pages, and it only costs like $5. That it's like very inexpensive in India, like 100, 200 rupees. And the thing is, do you know how many copies have been purchased by the Silicon Valley people or by any IITian? Guess.
100?
Zero. They have not bought us. They did not. Once the book came out, it's like total blackout. It's like they want to be on the goody side of the establishment. At that time, the establishment was Biden establishment, and they didn't want to rock the boat because it exposed the woke people and how they are targeting, using caste and all that, how they're targeting the Indian IT industry, and how their colleagues and their affiliates in India are infiltrating the IITs. It gives a whole thing of that. There's no excuse. It costs very little money. All I wanted was you should sponsor lots of copies to be given to IIT students in India, because they should know. They should know. Do you know, I have a warehouse here in the US where there's 10,000 copies sitting. And I'll wait for another few months and I'll just burn them away, throw them away, because it's a waste. I wasted serving the IITian community because they didn't have the courage and the knowledge to stick their neck out, and I did it for them, but they didn't support me, and nobody did. So this is a problem with character. This is karma, sir. If your character isn't good and you are selfish, then why do you deserve success? Why should the Indian community and the Indian nation and the Hindus, why should they, according to karma, deserve success just because their ancestors were great rishis? Doesn't mean that they have done anything. The ancestors were great rishis, I agree. Every day I'm thankful to them. But I have to do my work. I have to play the game. I have to perform my swadharma. What are they doing? What is their contribution? What tapasya have they done from their side? They try to leverage the work of other people, jugaad kind of thing. So I feel that the problem is very deep in Indian society, because unlike Muslims, they really contribute to their faith. They show up, their participation percentage is very high. In the United States, the amount of participation and how the group effect, how they support each other is remarkable. We don't have that same, sticking together and supporting a person who has merit. We don't do that. We'll support somebody who's famous, who's got some glitter, some nice, profile. That kind of a person is what we are looking for. So this is a systemic problem with the character of our people.
Thank you, sir. Now I want to go back to what you said, that you have essentially donated to some think tanks to be able to get a seat at the table. Walk to us a little bit of the process that happens. Like, for example, you have your say, you get an action item of maybe 1 or 2 items. How do you follow up to make sure that closure happens? I just want this for people who don't know anything about this.
Yeah. So there is a Capitol Hill Club in Washington. It's called Capitol Hill Club. And as the name implies, it's the club for people who are senators and congressmen on Capitol Hill. And it's a Republican club. The Democrats have their club. So this is a Republican club, and the membership is very tough to get. You don't just get in a member. It costs a bunch of money. You pay a lot of annual dues, and every time you go there, you pay for whatever you're using. And when you are a member, you can reserve their halls, their auditorium, their rooms, and have events. And that's where Trump goes. That's where J.D. Vance goes. That's where all the congressmen and senators go. And the think tanks, who are the Republican think tanks, are members. They hold their events there. So that is a nexus, a hub of activity. And I went there for their fundraiser. I've donated my ticket price, and we had a group of there out of a few hundred people. There was one table with a few Indians. I must say to you, okay. And they came just for fun and all that, but they were not very ideologically oriented people. They just came because they wanted to. That was the extent of the Indian participation. Then I have been to think tanks. There's several known Republican think tanks, and one in particular I won't name, but they invited me. They put me on the thing that has online meetings, and I'm privy to that. So at least I know what's going on. So at least I can anticipate this is the way the thinking is. Now, you would think that a lot of people would want to, pick my brain and understand what's going on. I don't find any interest on the part of Indians to understand this, because they just want to hear, we are the greatest. हमने उनको मार दिया, ट्रम्प तो बेवकूफ है. अरे भैया बेवकूफ है. Then all the more we have to understand his psychology, because if he's unpredictable and a nasty fellow, then even more so you must understand who is pulling his strings. Where is it his sons? Is it some MAGA people that he owes a lot to? Who are the close circle? And where do those close circle people work? What kind of organization and institution they work in? So all these think tanks have fundraisers. You get into a fundraiser. You can even, if you are a very large donor, you can even endow a chair. Instead of endowing a chair in Harvard, or stupid people are stupid in business billionaires invested all these hundreds of millions, tens of millions of dollars in places like Harvard and Columbia and all that stuff. They don't have any influence at all in the Republican side. Okay, you invest in think tanks, a fraction of that you get in your people. You can, if your people are qualified, which means they got a right kind of a degree in international relations or economics or immigration policy or whatever, or labor relations. So the people who are developing this H1B are into the labor relations, labor policy department. The people who are developing the immigration, they are into the immigration thinking. They've got the degrees in that. There are economists. There is also religion. Religion is in how to have an outreach. How the Republicans should have an outreach to the Americans of different religions. There are groups like that. I know the people who run those groups. So you need to be able to get inside, get a roadmap of what's going on, work your way through. If you are known as a donor, they have a database. Both Republicans and Democrats have a database of every donation you've given, and it is public knowledge. You can look up who's given what donation. So if you're donating to the Republicans at the national level or at the state level, I'm involved in the governor's race in New Jersey, and I'm donating to the Republican participant, and I've given whatever is the highest allowed under campaign laws. There's a limit on how much you can give per person. I've given that for my side as an individual. And nothing to do with my foundation, nothing to do with any of the other things I do. Just as a private citizen, I have a certain limit. I can give up to that. I've given that. So I'm recognized. And so I can say that there is such and such thing going on. I want to participate, and they'll let me do that. So these are the mechanisms. Now, October 28 is a likely event in Mar-a-Lago, organized by a 5-hour event in Mar-a-Lago. The ticket is there. You have to buy the ticket. You can't just go there for the hell of it. You have to pay money. You have to buy. It's in the thousands. And that is an event hosted by or being discussed by somebody I know very well. He's one of us. Okay. He's one of us. He's been a Republican for 20 years, and he's really invested in this. So but every time I talk to him, he says, "Hamare log kahan hai? Where are they? I'm calling this guy, that guy. They're not interested. Nobody cares. Nobody cares." So this is the problem. So when 𝗏𝗏 was visiting USA, I'll give you a little bit of gossip. When 𝗏𝗏𝗏 was coming to USA, the Indian embassy had not fixed up any big appointments with any serious people. He could not get into the door of the real inner circle. Forget Trump or anybody in the White House. Not even in these think tanks. He didn't. He went to the congressmen and senators because he thought that that's where the power is. Trump doesn't care what the Congress, Senate thinks. He tells them what to think. He dictates. That's it. They have to comply. Okay. So he went there. So the Indian ambassador is calling around random people, just some random here there. Can you get some appointment for 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏? And you feel wondering, this is great India. India's great civilization, big country, superpower, the ambassador cannot pick up the phone and make an appointment. He needs some random people to do it for him. I mean, I was just deflated. My whole sense of the greatness of the Indian establishment deflated because the Indian ambassador himself cannot do that. So I was, this is one of the things that contributed to my concerns. So I said, you know what, I'm going to buy all these tickets. I'm going to go in, and I just want to go as a private citizen and understand and read and learn. And if anybody wants to listen to me, I will tell them. So I don't represent anybody, neither on the American side nor on the Indian side, but I am an avid thinker, as you know, and an investigator, and I'm open-minded and outspoken, and that's what I'm doing. And if this were a Democrat in the White House, I would do the same. I would go get inside their Brookings Institute and here and there and go to their events and figure out what's going on. So Indians are on the outside. They're not in the inner 2-3 circles. They are outside circles, and social media is a completely useless way. I mean, Trump can tweet and it carries weight because he's announcing policy. But you can't, 𝗤𝙧𝙤𝗃𝗃, who is he? Who the hell is he to just go tweet this and that as if he's in a public debate with Trump, as if he's going to have a public shouting match with Trump and he's going to be able to win. It's a stupid idea to do that, to take him on in public. It's a stupid idea. You have to work behind the scenes, and you have to go through the MAGA institutions, and the MAGA institutions can be gamified. That's my take.
Thank you so much, Sree. These are all important things because you need to understand the rules of the game, and I think that's what we are trying to understand. Sir, you mentioned one other thing in your initial statement, that whatever is happening in H1B is actually good. Tell us a little bit about that.
Okay, so H1B, firstly, there was misinformation which they've corrected. H1B is not per year, and it doesn't apply to people once you're in the system. It only is an admission ticket, one-time admission ticket to get into the H1B system. Once you're in the system, the renewals and all that keep happening. So let's take the average life of an H1B person. It's about 5 years. I talked with some bunch of employers. I said, how long does the average guy? He says the average person stays around 5 years. Many of them get a green card, they stay forever. But, some people leave early, but they don't want to. Once they're here, they want to stay. So if the average person, let's say for our discussion, is 5 years, and you're paying $100,000 up front, so you amortize it over 5 years, it's costing you $20,000 a year extra salary. And at the high end, it's not a big deal, because at the high end, these people are making hundreds of thousands of dollars. They're making $250,000, $300,000, $400,000. So it is like 10-15% on top of their salary is what it comes to. Now, the people at the low end, it'll be a lot. So they are weeding out the low end people and encouraging more people at the high end to come. The total limit of 85,000 will be redistributed. There'll be more high end people coming because the big tech will be able to afford it. Second thing is, the current lottery did not discriminate based on whether the company is big or small. So a lot of small time companies, small operators, friends of mine, a lot of my friends started these outsourcing companies, body shop companies, and किसी के पास 50 employees and किसी के पास 200 employees हैं. They enter the lottery, they'll win some people, bring them over, and then they'll mark them up 30,000-40,000 and rent them out to some bank, Citibank or whatever bank here and there. Now these little guys will not survive because they cannot afford to pay 100,000 upfront. They cannot afford to pay that. That doesn't make any business sense for them. Also, if you were to pay, you don't know if the guy will stay 5 years, and then you can amortize it. Maybe he'll leave in a year, and then you're screwed. So even if the person were to leave, stay for 5 years, they don't have the upfront capital. The cash flow is not there to invest upfront. So the little guys will lose, and the big guys, for them it is not a problem. They having another $100,000 spread over 5 year your tenure is not a problem for these guys. So in a sense, it concentrates the technology into the hands of bigger people. The losers, which I'm not happy with, these middlemen, body shop people, I'm happy that they're going out of business because they are useless people. I mean, they're personal friends, but as a business model and a service to society, they're not really helping. The people I'm upset about being destroyed are small AI startups. If you have an AI startup and you got 20 employees, you want to staff it up to 100. I mean, if each of those is going to cost you $100,000 upfront, then it means you have to dilute your equity to raise that capital. You're going to eat your investment, your actual equity capital to fund upfront, because they don't have the revenue, they don't have the income, they can't afford through cash flow. And so I think that's a mistake that Trump has made, because he is now top heavy. A few 10, 20, 30 big tech companies will keep hiring these people, and the small startup type people will not be able to afford them. Maybe in some cases they will, a few people, but not on a large scale. So that's, I think, what the H1B is going to do. You'll still send 85,000 a year, but different kind of people. Okay, that's my take. And now what I would like to see is that India should not be, I have been writing this for 15 years, 20 years. India is in this body shopping, labor arbitrage, wage arbitrage game, where a lot of money, a lot of billionaires have been made, a lot of this Narayan Murthy, Infosys, Mohandas Pai, all these people in Mahindra, all these TCS, they've all been made tons and tons of money just hiring some people and renting them out, renting the Indian brains. Why not develop Indian technology? Meanwhile, we don't have any Indian operating system, we don't have any Indian social media platform, we don't have any Indian LLMs, we just don't have that. And I've been saying this is why China is holding some cards to negotiate, because China has these things. China has invested wisely in futuristic things, and it owns futuristic things, okay, in some cases even ahead of the United States, like in some areas of robotics and some nanotechnologies and quantum computing. They're at par, if not ahead. So the US respects them. It has nothing to do with ideology. It has nothing to do with values. It has nothing to do with whether you are democracy or not a democracy, and whether you have yoga and whether your food is good and all that. The soft power doesn't work in this administration. So India does not hold the cards to negotiate from a position of strength. And it does have some potential cards, which I thought I would advise them, but there was nobody wanting to listen. So that's my take on the H1B. It will force India to rethink whether it should just deploy these outsourcing, these software people, send them to Europe and Russia and Japan, reallocate them, whether it should do that, or whether it should actually invest in creating Indian technology. But why are we renting Indian brains to make made in America, making America great again? Why are we doing that? Why aren't we making India great again? Why not? And this is a point that nobody wanted to hear. When I wrote my book on artificial intelligence and the future of power, before that I'd been writing all this, but I put in a book. Do you know no Niti Aayog person wanted to review it or give me any blurb or even have a meeting in the Niti Aayog? And do you know that ORF, I talked to the top guy also, they sent me around here and there, they turned it down. They did not want to discuss this book, because these are the things I was saying, that it's a bad idea for Reliance to invest so much in Facebook and make WhatsApp the standard in India. The thing is that Reliance has the money to have built their own. It is not a very complicated technology, and they should have done that. But they, in fact, sold some equity to Facebook so that Facebook is in the door of Reliance. So these are all very foolish things. And they're all because there is this Dukandar mentality. And you may be a very big billionaire, trillionaire Dukandar, but the mentality is still Dukandar mentality. They are really not thinking like industrialists building a new industrial revolution. They're not thinking like that, like the Chinese industrialists have thought like that. So I would say that kudos to China for the last 20 years to take on the world's toughest problems, engineer them on their own way. So that's the difference between India and China. We are nowhere close to that.
Thank you,
sir.
I
want to close with a question. I asked people this question. I said, China is run by engineers. Most of the CCP people, 75% of them are technocrats, engineers. United States is run by lawyers. Most of them are lawyers. That's their training. Okay. Saudi Arabia is run by sheikhs. Pakistan is run by terrorists. And the question is, who runs India? I got a lot of answers, different kind of answers. From Bhagwan runs India to nobody runs India to crooked people run India to whatever. But India really needs to think about this: who runs India and what is happening? Where is the Indian Constitution with respect to defending and protecting and projecting Bharatiyata? Where is that? We don't have that. So where is the yoga in the lives of people to make them emotionally and psychologically strong so they can face all this? A yogi should be able to face these issues with courage. That is what the audacity is in the Mahabharata. Why do they have to feel good, sir, आपने हमारा feel good खराब कर दिया, हमको तो feel good चाहिए. That's a weak posture. So that's my message to India. It's a good thing that we are forced to introspect on all these matters. And I love my Indians. I love my Bharatiya people. I love all our fellow Indians. And I want them to succeed. But I think it is time to also shake them up.
Yes, indeed. And now let's talk on one little thing that Rajiv ji has been doing. Sir, you have an upcoming event in India. Talk to us a little bit about this. And I don't know if it's still in preparatory stages or if you have got some timelines, because I'd like to invite you back for that, because that is also important. Viewers, some of you are putting vitriol here. Please understand one thing. Why is Rajiv Malhotra ji and why are we taking the time? After all, we don't have to do this. 99.9999% Indian Americans don't do this. Why is it that we feel that we have to do it? Please understand that. Sir, about your event.
So we are taking our Banyan Tree initiative, Banyan Tree network, to launch in India November 15 in Bharat Mandapam, which is a very prestigious forum, and we'll invite a lot of dignitaries. And this Banyan Tree is a metaphor for unity among many different trees. There are many branches, there are many trunks, many roots, but they are all interconnected and they have a common DNA. The common DNA is the Indian grand narrative, the Vedic grand narrative. That's the common DNA. But the different roots and different trunks are different organizations. So when we did this event, you were there in April in New Jersey. Yes. We had 28 organizations represented and a large number of individuals represented. But there were those who could not come travel for whatever reasons. So we decided that we'll do another one of that kind in India. So the date for that is November 15th. And I'm inviting people who want to come for that. You can put my email ID, rajivmalhotra2007@gmail.com. They can send me an email saying I'd like to come, and I'll send them an invite, or I'll hand it to our team. This is to galvanize the pro-Bharat, pro-Hindu, Vedic type of people, institutions all over the world. And we want to, I'm personally committing that I'll fund it for 10 years. Every year I'll give a certain amount of money to fund this kind of annual get-together, annual networking conference. If we do it year after year after year, I think it will grow and it will build solidarity. It will build how we can help each other, how we can exchange ideas, and maybe I have something you can get or you have something I can learn from. That's the spirit with which we are going to do this. November 15, from all the afternoon till the evening, including a high tea, including a dinner, everything we're going to give.
Thank you so much, sir. And you're doing human service for society. Think of it, viewers, how many think tanks from India have published work like Breaking India or Battle for Sanskrit or Snakes in Ganga? There's the answer. Thank you so much, sir. Namaskar.
Thank you. Namaste.